Why did you decide to get married at such an age?
Well, we decided to get married because I found myself in a certain condition. Our wedding was in July and the baby was born in November. In November, yes. So I was finishing school while being pregnant. I don't know about him, but for me personally, I don't know. I felt a certain calmness and maybe a confidence.
Our story is pretty cliche for our situation because we had an unexpected event, a pregnancy.
Biologically, it wasn't us, it was you.
And nothing happened on your end. You just sat there, and then 11 years later, you're like, oh, what's this, Nastya? It wasn't exactly like that. We didn't have many options. It was either this or later go through the adoption process, which is complicated. It's easier to just get married and then figure things out. I recall I told you I was pregnant via a text message.
A text, yeah, an SMS.
Yes, there are many things you shouldn't communicate through a text, and this was one of them. But what's done is done.
Well, of course there was panic. I mean, come on, we were 19 and 16.
What difficulties of early marriage did you face?
We moved in together and naturally began to discover who we really were. Because before that, we were people from different cities who met occasionally. Given our age, we faced the challenge of not having our own place. The first year we lived with Vitya's mom, the second year with mine, and then we realized that arrangement wasn't working for us.
We chose to move out, and we did.
Well, the challenge was that after some time, Elena was born.
I don't know if you'd call these challenges or just life. For instance, I'd come home from work, head to school. After school, a baby bathtub would be waiting for me in the kitchen. My main job was to hold the baby's head during baths. That's how I bathed her every time. After that, I was asked to wring out the diapers. I did. But I was told that I shouldn't do it anymore because my hands wouldn't come clean. I worked as a car mechanic, so when I wrung them out, they looked clean, but the diapers were dirty.
The whole concept of regular cleaning and dishwashing hit me like a ton of bricks. I won't pretend I'd never washed a dish before, but never at this scale.
It's not just cooking for one anymore, it's meals for two. You've got to gauge how much she'll eat and how much I will, just to make sure there's enough. I tried dividing up chores, like, you handle this and I'll tackle that. But it never quite pans out that way. If she's cooking, I'm on cleanup duty, and vice versa. Things just sort of fall into place.
We faced other hurdles too, like someone got conscripted.
That's a memorable one. There were tears, chasing after the train. She scaled the fence at the draft office. They hoisted you over that fence. I parented for a year, and only after that year did I serve. I like to think I did it right.
And then there's the money gathered for the send-off to the army. It was a tradition passing the hat around during farewells. All the funds that were raised, they sustained me for about 6 months with Elena. Of course, I had some income. The military began to compensate.
Slamming doors was so childish. I'm bothering you, fine. I mean, now I realize that it's nonsense because, well, you slammed the door today and tomorrow you got to fix it. It's nonsense. There are better ways to express oneself.
My youthful mistake was probably that I ignored a lot of problems and thought that they would probably just go away, but for some reason they never did.
A thought resonates with me now. We matured alongside each other. That's how it was. And any kind of dispute had a very strong effect on us.
How did early marriage change your life?
This is a very odd question because when you suddenly have a child at 16, life probably turns around like that anyway. Immediately there was less communication with friends, fewer hangouts, and a bunch of additional responsibilities appeared.
As for me, yes, my plans. Of course, regarding the university, I took a completely different direction. Meaning, naturally, that university option was closed off for me at that time. I ended up enrolling in a university a year later. But again, not the one I initially aimed for. I intended to go to the economics university, but ended up in a pedagogical one. Honestly, I have no regrets. Truly, from the bottom of my heart.
It was even better for me. I just sympathized with her, because her dreams were much bigger than what she's telling you. She had a solid 14 years of dance training. She had big plans. And then I came along and ruined everything. Everything was clear-cut for me. I always knew I wanted to be with her. From the moment we met, that was it. I was at her place nearly every day. No one could kick me out. I'd leave on my own, usually around midnight. I was pretty persistent.
Back then, I genuinely believed I'd spend my life alone, like some leather-jacketed guru with long hair, perpetually tipsy, regaling youngsters with tales of my wild adventures at festivals and concerts. I felt I wasn't really cut out for relationships.
We used to be hardcore party people. It was all about beer, fun, strumming guitars, singing popular songs. But the longer we were together, the more we noticed people slowly drifting away from us. Maybe we weren't as fun to them anymore. We became more engrossed in our family life. Fewer people around, but the ones who stayed brought so much joy. It felt genuine, kind, and good.
I envision our family life as a cozy little nest, most importantly without quarrels. I dream of coming home in my 50s or 60s, greeted by my wife. That's the kind of life I want. At the registry office, they handed us bubbles and said the number of bubbles we blew would be the number of kids we'd have. She blew 1, I blew 7. But when it comes to kids, we've got some waiting to do.
We need stability, both financially and emotionally.
How did your relatives react?
Well, I don't know. I had more of a connection with my grandmother when I was pregnant. I mean, she must have noticed somehow. It was her suggestion to go to the doctor to find out, because we're such a generation. It's been such a taboo subject for us. Well, to be honest, there were no opportunities to talk about it with anyone. My grandmother was like my friend.
I remember your mom's reaction when she learned I was pregnant. Congratulations, such wonderful news. But I was 16, thinking this might be good news for another time. I was terrified. The real conflict wasn't between our parents, but within my own family. My mom was shocked, so was my dad. I don't blame upbringing or point fingers. I just didn't really understand contraception. No one explained it to me, or many other things for that matter. So, I found myself in a risky situation. Overall, our families reacted decently to each other and the situation. We didn't see anything wrong with the idea. We loved each other and were ready to see where life would take us.
Why the past tense?
Because I'm talking about a moment that's already happened.
My mom initially just laughed. She thought I was joking, but like it wasn't a joke.
I only told my parents much later. I proposed in January, but only told them in July. They were shocked. They were like, "Already? You're only 18.
How did your school react to your situation?
In school, they sent me to the principal. The principal told me it was a disgrace, especially since it was our graduation year, exams and all. The principal was present for every exam I took. After I finished, she'd leave. The next phase started post-school. We had to get the authorities' permission to marry since we were underage. A special meeting was convened for this, and both our parents were called in.
School was easier for me. I had no clue anyone knew about it. I thought like nobody knew anything. Maybe it was thanks to my class teacher. She kind of shielded me. I was always the good girl. I only found out the whole school knew about my pregnancy when I received my diploma. I noticed a lowered behavior grade. No one, not even my mom, had mentioned it. Turns out they'd called my mom to school and offered several other solutions so that it wouldn't end in a wedding, avoiding, a black mark on the school's reputation.
It was heartwarming to see the reactions of my classmates and teachers. The girls promised to bring me oranges in the maternity ward. The boys tried not to tease or touch me. They were pretty gentle. Teachers tried to help with advice. They'd all been through something similar and had insights to share. It was surprising, but also exactly what I needed at the time.
My friends were all thrilled. They congratulated me, even when dress shopping with me. They were so excited for the wedding day.
My friends teased me, saying things like, "Oh, stars, you're doomed now." But my best mates, they were happy for me.
They were happy for you, don't say that.
Others were like, that's it, you're in prison now.
Well, I mean, I wasn't really fixated on it. Maybe there were whispers, but we probably didn't want to hear them. It just passed us by. We didn't dwell on it.
We mostly spent time together, we had our own relationship, there was no interest in going out with friends or hanging out.
After some time, I found out that one of my friends believed I had ruined my life this way. But overall, during that period, I was surrounded by people who were more curious, like, how did it happen? What did you go through? How painful was it?
Did you get judgmental looks at the registry office?
At the registry office, no one looked at us weirdly or anything like, oh, they got married
Why
at 18.
did they even do that? They're so young. How will they have fun now?
Maybe there were some whispers or rumors, but like I'm saying, maybe we just didn't want to hear it. It kind of just went past us. We didn't dwell on
Because
it.
we were such a good-looking couple, everyone stared. No one asked unnecessary questions. There were dances, and we had a photographer, Uncle Zora, loads of photos, such a wonderful guy. Our neighbor from the 9th floor. Now, looking back, it's just, I mean, it's hard to grasp. Looking at the photos, you realize my mother-in-law was 13 years younger than I am now. It's just, wow, you know?
Back then, everything felt so foggy. I was more concerned about, like, not having swollen feet, hoping I could handle it all. The wedding was in the best post-Soviet traditions, with embroidered towels, formal greetings, the whole 9 yards. It was all so cliched, yet in a way so beautiful, sweet, and, I mean, kind of ironic. I genuinely teared up.
One quirky thing about our civil registry office was the dance of the bride and groom. We danced to a track from the erotic movie Emmanuel. It was so surreal, especially considering the old-school Soviet vibe of the place.
Towels, chastity.
Yeah, words about chastity. Nastya with her baby bump, our metalhead friends with their long hair. And all of it set to Emmanuel. It was like totally wild.
What are the benefits of marrying early?
And we're still together. Oh, I know, we're like young grandma and grandpa now.
Sometimes I just wished we could, sneak off to a movie or something. We always went everywhere together. We were like inseparable, always together, everywhere. Maybe I wanted to go out and just enjoy my youth a bit. People keep telling me I missed out on my youth, going straight from school to family, but the silver lining? I'm still young enough to help my daughter with her kids.
Well, we're a different kind of grandparents. I mean, think about your grandma, and I think about mine. What were our grandmas like? You'd visit, and there's this elderly person, always ready to give you a candy. That's it. And you? You rode to the maternity hospital on a motorcycle?
When you reach that age, specifically when you mature at 18, you become more anchored and grounded. You start to approach daily life, especially the household chores, with a youthful perspective. You handle things with the energy and spirit of someone much younger, embracing the modern way of doing things.
There's no generation gap between us and our child. He's also growing up so fast. I have a tear here somewhere. Add it later when you edit the video. I'm actually really worried about Nikita growing up so fast that we won't get to read certain books together because he'll soon lose interest. But there is also a positive side to this. He will grow up very soon. We will still be pretty young. Then we can hang out and travel together.
Have you ever regretted getting married?
Never, like,
Not
ever.
even to this day.
I don't. And you?
Well, we've had our fair share of arguments, of course. It's natural. But the sweetest moments come from that. If you don't argue, then it's not real life. It's just for show.
When people say, oh, we never argued, when older people say that,
What kind of life do they have? It's like being in the army.
There were times when I regretted that we got married and how everything turned out, but those regrets feel so distant now. At this moment, I can't say I regret anything.
Yeah, sometimes I'd fantasize about where I could have ended up if not for the early marriage. The funny thing is, I now realize it might sound too sweet, like we're here saying everything's perfect. But in reality, I mostly had gloomy thoughts, because I truly understand that the early marriage was a motivator for me to grow, to learn something new. Otherwise, I might have continued working as a computer specialist in the culture department. Maybe that would have been enough for me. But it wasn't. I had to evolve. I didn't want to at first. I resisted it.
Thinking of our friends and classmates, so many of them just drank themselves to death. Many are no longer alive. Some are still drinking. Times were tough. I came back from the army in the 90s. Everything was falling apart, including my job. Not everyone could handle it. But we managed together. Sometimes she had a salary, sometimes I did. We had one shared savings pot. If we needed something, we took it. If not, we saved.
Well, partying is partying, but I don't know. Did you party enough?
Absolutely. I'm happy.
Look at me, this is what I can do, and I'm perfectly happy with the opportunity.
You never ask me if I'm happy when you poke my nose with your cold finger. Let me answer now so you know. Yes, I'm happy.